Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I always love it. I love talking to all my guests, but I really like it when I get to talk with my friends. And we're going to have such a great discussion with John Ray today, because we're going to be talking about how you're going to price what you do. Probably one of the biggest challenges that anybody has. And so please join me in welcoming the wonderful, the talented John Ray to our program today.
Deb, what a delight to be with you. It's always a delight to be with you. And I'm honored to be on your show. So thank you.
Well, let me tell folks a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this, because we're going to have a full program. You know, what a lot of folks don't know is I do set a timer so that we do keep it, about the right time. Today, we definitely need it because we'd be going on for hours, because it is an important subject and we just have a great time talking. So John Ray helps professionals who sell their expertise to price it for the value they truly deliver and win business without feeling salesy. He advises consultants, attorneys, coaches, fractional executives, and other solo or small firm leaders on pricing strategy, value-based proposals, and business development that earns trust. Grounded in a decade advising expert practitioners and earlier roles in finance and M&A at firms such as J.P. Morgan, John works with a practical, value-centered lens. Clients finish with pricing they stand behind, proposals that win, a trust-driven business rooted in generosity, and a way to scale by serving fewer but the right fit clients. John is the author of, and I'm holding it up, I'm being Vanna, he is the author of The Generosity Mindset, A Journey to Business Success by Raising Your Confidence, Value, and Prices. It holds a 5-star rating across more than 80 reviews on Amazon. John also hosts The Price and Value Journey, a podcast focused on the unique issues solo and small firm service providers face. And it was absolutely my delight to be a guest on his podcast. And we'll have a link to that in the show notes. But John, oh my gosh, holy schmoly, tell us a little bit more about how it is that you got to where you are today.
Well, once again, Deb, thank you. It's an honor to be on your show. You are like the podcast queen. I look up to you. See, folks need to understand this. As many shows as you've had, over 1,100, is amazing.
Well, you've done a lot yourself.
Well, I'm still looking up at you. I mean, so I just aspire to be somewhere near Deb. But
well, thank you.
Congratulations on you and your work. I'm just honored to be in your orbit. But yeah, I mean, most of my career has the first part of my career was in investment banking, investment securities analysis, strategic advisory work, consulting work. In other words, what you might call high dollar finance.
Okay.
And eventually it got to the point where corporate America thought I was too, let's say, seasoned for them.
Oh dear.
and they specialize in lower paid rookies.
Yes, that's it.
As we all know. And that's their business model. And so I went out on my own and started my own business advisory practice. And that was in 2013. So that's been, about 13, 14 years ago, something like that. And I had a problem almost immediately. And that problem was, for all that highfalutin, fancy work that I had done in finance and worked in some major IPOs and M&A transactions and what have you, I didn't know how to price my own work.
Mhm.
And I did what most people do. In fact, I would dare say most people that are listening to this show, what if they went out on their own, what they did was they looked at what everybody else was doing
Right.
and kind of benchmarked against that, right?
And charged less because we are new.
Right, which is the wrong thing to do, but
Mhm.
we'll come back to that.
Mhm.
But I did the same thing. And here's the thing is that you don't realize that when you sell your expertise,
Mhm.
you're selling what's manufactured between your ears. That's
Right.
your factory floor, right?
Mhm.
Well, guess what sits right next door in your head to the factory? The neighbor to that expertise
Mhm.
factory are all the mindsets
Mhm.
that hold you back.
Right.
So the mindset of, I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
I'm
I'm
you know,
just starting out.
I'm just starting out, so I've got a discount.
Mhm.
The mindset of helping. I'm just here to help
Right.
everyone.
Right. I want to
Um,
be generous.
right.
Mhm.
Um,
I
and
need the money.
I need the money. And so the problem is that next door neighbor to your expertise
Mhm.
is leading you down the wrong path and causing you to underprice
Mhm.
your work. And actually, it messes up your entire business. It's not just the pricing, it's how you position yourself, how you talk about your business, how you talk to clients. Um, and how sometimes it makes you talk to clients out of a sense of desperation,
Mhm. Right.
and you're exuding that,
Mhm.
and you don't even know it.
And they take advantage of it.
Oh, and they've got noses like your beagle.
Mhm. Right. Because they want to save money, right?
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right. They can sniff it out
Mhm.
in a heartbeat. So I got really passionate about this,
Mhm.
Deb. I mean, because it was not just me, I was seeing it in my clients.
Mhm.
Because this is a common theme among people that sell their expertise. So we're talking about coaches, consultants, attorneys, fractional executives, all that you mentioned. I mean, we're also talking about uh, pretty decent sized service companies
Mhm.
that have gotten to a point where they've gotten not because their pricing is effective, but just because they're good at,
Mhm.
growing their
Right.
volume,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But they're really not pricing to the value they deliver.
Mhm.
And so I got really passionate about this, but here is the rub. The rub
Mhm.
is that you don't learn pricing when you're going to business school.
Mhm.
You don't learn from most business schools. There's some exceptions to this, right? But and there are no resources if you're out there on your own.
Right.
There are not credible resources to help you with your pricing. There's a ton of resources on marketing, on
Right.
operations, right, on accounting, what have you, but not on how to price. In fact, here's your stat for the day. That book, the title of which I hate, Small Business for Dummies. You know that series for the
Right.
Dummies
Whole
series?
series, uh-huh.
Right. So the Small Business for Dummies book has about approximately 250 pages in it.
Mhm.
Pretty decent
Right.
information.
Mhm.
You know how many pages it devotes to pricing?
2.
Good guess. 4.5.
Oh. Mhm.
Four and
And
a half.
pricing should be one of the, if not the most critical things you do.
Yes, absolutely. And so you just as a business owner, you don't have a place to go. And so that's what got me passionate about the work and really caused me to dive into it, not just for myself, but for my clients and for others, and eventually led to me writing my own book about it, as you say, called The Generosity
Oh,
Mindset.
wait, I'll be Vanna again. Here we go.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you for that. So that's a little bit about my journey. So I've got all the T-shirts in the drawer.
Mhm.
I've made all the mistakes, and I write about that. Uh, those that I've made and those that I've seen made in the book.
Right. Yeah. And it's so true. We either A, pick what our competitors are doing and then undercut it because we're going to get more business that way.
Mhm.
Or we just guess. I mean, that's the thing. And I remember years ago, I worked for an agency, a marketing agency in Colorado. It was kind of, it's a different place. It has unfortunately gone out of business. But the one of the things that the owner told me, and obviously I still remember this. I mean, this has been over, 15, 20 years ago. He said, charge what the market will bear. And so that's kind of always my first thought. And his point was, if you are going to be working for nonprofits, you charge them a lower amount. If you are working with people who they themselves charge a lot, so attorneys, doctors, people like that, if you don't charge a fairly substantial amount, they won't see the value in it. Now, I've always kind of used that as a place to start where I'm pricing things, but I know that's not the best way to do it.
Well, that's a great place to start, simply to understand one principle, and that is that price is a marketing signal. In and of itself, it's a marketing signal. It's a signal of quality. It's a signal of inferiority. So the other day I passed down the road here. I'm sure you've seen them. Some guy's sitting out in a truck, and it says, he's got this big sign that says ribeyes for $2.
Ooh, that's going to be high quality.
Right. Well, that's your first thought, right? His price is a marketing signal. It's a signal that causes you to question the quality of his product, right?
Right.
Now, if he said, I've got ribeyes for $100 each, you would say, wow, those must be Wagyu, or those are right. There's something going on here that makes those ribeyes taste that good.
Right.
So the price in and of itself is a signal of quality. Now, when you're in the expertise service business, you're essentially pricing yourself.
Right.
It's your own expertise, and that gets really personal. So what are you willing to do when it comes to pricing yourself? You're telling a story about yourself in your price.
Right.
And I think if you go into it, think with that thought in your head, hopefully it gives you the courage to do some of the things that you need to do to make your business better.
Right. I interviewed my friend Adrienne Graham on the program. It's been quite a while ago. I need to have her on again. And she wrote a great article and then a great book. And what she was addressing were the people who want to get together for coffee, right? Can I meet you just for an hour, right?
Right.
And her book is, No, You Can't Pick My Brain. It Costs Too Much. And that really is the thing. I mean, and okay, I will have a call with somebody. I'll sit with somebody, half hour, something like that. But you darn well better at least buy me that coffee. And it's not that people are taking advantage by saying, John, I need you to tell me everything you can possibly tell me in 30 minutes, and then I'm never going to talk to you again. It's, we're just kind of curious, but it really is that mindset of what's in our brain is very expensive. It's very hard earned. In some cases, it's taken years to get that knowledge. And when we undervalue what we're doing, we're undervaluing ourselves.
Well, yes. And you're doing it in ways that are insidious that you don't even see. So when you discount because you're new, for example, let's go back to that one. Your expertise is not new.
Right.
Yeah, your business may be new, but your expertise is not new. So if let's say you've come out of a big consulting firm and you started your own, why would you put a heavy discount on your rates simply because you're brand new? I mean, the issue here is pricing to the value that your clients see in your work.
Right.
And we can talk more about how to do that, but this is when you're pricing based on factors like how new you are in the business, it's self-referential. It's not client friendly.
Right. But it is a catch-22 because we're new. We have bills we have to pay. We need clients. So how do we get past that desperation mode?
Well, so here's the thing. First of all, you got to get over the idea that a lower price is going to attract clients. So $2 ribeyes, that does not attract clients.
Or
I
it
got
doesn't
news for you.
attract the right clients. Let's put it
Correct.
that way.
Well, actually, that's a really great point. It does attract clients. It attracts all the wrong ones you don't want. And and people say, yeah, I've got to start a business somehow. And you know what? Yeah, you do. I mean, you got to start with clients, and you got to do client work. You got to get testimonials, and you got to get momentum in your business. You got to get some wins to feel good about your business. I get all that. And sometimes, we take on business in order to get to a certain point, and I get that. And we take on clients that we know aren't going to be long-term best fits,
Right.
but we can serve them well in the short run. So that's cool. And I did that in my business. The problem with maintaining that kind of business is you run into, eventually, after a few years, you burn out because you're working way too hard for too little money, because you've got poor fit clients that expect way too much, and you are burned out. You get to the point where you resent your clients.
Right.
And when you see the worst ones, and the worst ones are the ones that really aren't paying you what you're worth.
Right.
The worst offenders of that, and here's the truth. It's your fault.
Right. Oh,
You took them on.
You let them do that.
You let them do that to you, and here you are, and you resent that, and you see them on your phone, on caller ID, and you do not want to answer, right?
Well, and invariably, they're also the ones who push it, right? Well, can't you do this? Can't you do that? Because again, they have sniffed out that insecurity, that, whatever it is, and they know, hey, you're desperate. I can push, and you're going to say, you're not ever going to say, how hard, how far. You're just going to say, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. It's like, the analogy there is, John, I know you've done my business plan. You did a great job on that. Can you start posting on Facebook for me? I mean, that exactly, exactly. They'll ask you anything, and a lot of times you'll do some of this stuff for the exact reason you talked about, is that you want to get revenue in the door.
Right. And I'm a firm believer in a proposal and a contract, because that helps alleviate all of the problems. And so in the proposal, and, it's a pain, right, to have to do all of it, but you still should, because it sets the expectations for everybody, even if it's just one page, whatever it is, and so you say, for $1,000, I do X, Y, Z. If you want A, B, C, the cost for that is this. And then they know, oh, okay, and I had that happen the other day. Somebody said, well, hey, we need you to do a press release. And I said, well, that's great. Thank you so much. You do remember that that's an added part of the contract. And he kind of, and then he went, oh, okay, just, send me a note saying how much that'll be. So it didn't, it was more, I think he was embarrassed that he forgot. But he had no problem with it. And, I just gently reminded him, sure, I'll do it, but there is an additional charge.
Well, and that's a good instance of, there's a client that is not looking for you to, they're not looking for the,
right. They're not pushing.
They're not pushing you to grovel at every request. You're obviously a trusted partner. And so this is just part of what they thought the scope was, because they see you in that light. And so you just had to remind them gently that that's extra, and that's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And then of course, I love the thing when you do the proposal, and maybe it's $5,000 that you're telling them for whatever it is. And they said, well, I've only got 2,500. And of course, what they're expecting is you will go, oh, okay.
Right.
And it's funny. I'm in Southern in a lot of ways before I ever moved down here. I just, smile sweetly. And I say, well, what half are you cutting out? And And they get it really, and sometimes they really do only have 2,500. So then we figure out what can be cut out. But usually they find that money. They just, again, we all love a bargain. We all love a bargain, and so we're always going to be looking for that. And when it's your company's money, you're extra diligent about it. And so it's not a knock on them. They're just being good business people.
Well, and yes, they are being good business people. And here's the thing. They don't understand your business.
Right.
So, in fact, some of them barely understand their own because they're new in their business. And again, that's no knock on them. I barely understood mine in retrospect. When I started it, I'd looking back, I didn't know nearly as much as I do now. So the point is that they don't know what things cost. They don't know what it takes to do what you do.
Right.
I had a bookkeeper as a client one time, and she told me that she did a client presentation to a new owner of a martial arts studio to do his bookkeeping. And she was just almost kind of in tears talking about this meeting because she was really upset about what this gentleman had said to her, because she quoted the price that she had come up with. And he said, "You have got to be kidding me." She said, "For you get that much for simply downloading numbers into a spreadsheet?"
Oh.
Ouch.
Yeah. That's when you look at them and say, I don't think you're the right client.
Well, what I suggested to her as a rejoinder was, there are probably some people that question how much you get for wearing pajamas and running around on a mat.
Yeah.
So
going, yeah,
that's right. So come on now. Let's but see, here's the thing. That martial arts guy, he didn't know beans about bookkeeping. He didn't know what's involved with that. He thought it was something really simple, and he was hiring some low level single dollar an hour clerk, right? So that's so we can forgive people for that. But here's the thing. What led up to that was an ineffective conversation with the client, discovery call with the client, value conversation with the client. That's not just my term. That's a well-known term in the pricing world.
Right.
That you have a value conversation with the client, and that the quality of your conversations determines how well you can price.
Right.
If you have not had a high quality conversation with a client, then you'll get down to the end, and there'll be a lot more questioning about pricing, and in sometimes outright rejection, ghosting, than there would be otherwise.
Right. And folks, it is 110%, or somebody said the other day, 1,000%. I'm thinking, I'm not quite sure how that works, but it is 100% permissible to brag about yourself. Tell them what certifications you have, what your education is, how many, all of the things that are going to help them understand this is why you have priced it the way you have.
Well, here's what I suggest is focus, and this is why I called the book The Generosity Mindset. Generosity is not about giving everything away.
Right.
It's about getting in a mindset where you are thinking about the needs, hopes, wants, desires, fears of that client first.
Right.
And it's not about what you do.
Yes. What's in it for them?
What's in it for them. It's not about even your certifications. I mean, because the truth of the matter is, if I call Deb to do a press release for me, she comes pre-vetted for me. So, I'm not going to ask where you went to school and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
If I get referred to you, then you're already pre-qualified.
And the School of Hard Knocks, is also, I know people who did not go to college, barely got out of high school, and they are extremely knowledgeable and extremely talented. So just saying, well, I have an MBA,
Yeah, that's just not good enough. because the truth is, again, it's not good enough, because not that it's not good, because it is good. It's part of who you are, but it's not germane to the client at that moment. What's germane to them is they've got a problem and they're trying to figure out who's going to solve it. And so what you've got to do is have an effective conversation that gets to the root of what their needs, hopes, wants, desires are. And the truth of the matter is that people are coming to you and to me and to those listening to this chat we're having, to solve a bigger problem than just getting their books cleaned up or getting a press release put out or getting the pricing fixed in their service business. They've got a bigger problem than that, and that's what you've got to get to.
Right.
I mean, let me give you an example. So when I tell this story in the book, I go see a client who I was referred into, and I'm listening to him talk about his business, and the more he goes on, the more I'm thinking, I'm sitting here with Steve Jobs. I mean, this guy has no problems in the world. I mean, why am I here, right? I mean, he's going on and on about all the great things that they've done in this business. Well, about 30 minutes in, his wife walks in. And she's like, hi, we introduce ourselves. And she says, like, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm a business advisor, blah, blah, blah. And she's immediately, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. Let me tell you the problems we have got in this business. No. We don't have any idea where we are in the business. We don't have any idea what this business is worth. We want to sell it in a few years, and we have no idea what's going on around here. And I mean, this guy, the former Steve Jobs, was shrinking and shrinking. Yeah, that's right. And the point is, truth walked in the room. Now, it obviously never happens like that.
Right.
Very often when you're talking to a potential new client. But that's what you've got to get to is where is the truth? Behind all the polite conversation, what's the real need?
Right.
Yeah, there's some specific things that this business needed. They needed to get their accounting cleaned up. They needed some other advice about expansion and that kind of thing. What they really were concerned about ultimately is, we bought this business with retirement funds. What's it worth? Are we going to be able to cash it out in a few years and actually not damage our retirement, but hopefully enhance it? That's the real question.
Right.
And that's where the value is, you see. It's not in my service.
Right.
The value is in fixing that intangible worry that they have.
Right. And on your website, and we'll link to this in the show notes, you've got some great handouts. And I love the fact that you say, I don't even ask you for your email address. You can just download them. And so I love that. And one of them is questions to be asking a potential client. And it was so interesting going through that, because a lot of them I thought, oh yeah, I've wondered that, but I didn't ask it, right? And some of them are pretty basic, but some really are things that people don't ask, like, what is your budget? Who needs to approve this? Am I talking to the right people? I mean, all of those things. And, what is your timeline? But it is, some of them are pretty probing, and you'll find out a great deal of information. And unfortunately, sometimes you find out they're not at the place where they need you right now. And that's okay. But yeah, you can't work with them if you haven't asked these questions. And I love it because you've got, let's see, it's 6 pages of things that you should be asking. I mean, obviously you're not going to just go through the list and ask them all these questions, but think about it as you are. Like here. How many times have we even thought about asking a client this? How much time or money could be saved with an effective solution? Right? I mean, that's a basic question, but
most of them don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's okay that they don't know, because they need to be thinking about it.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to help them through that. You see, sometimes they will know like the explicit cost, but they won't know like the intangible cost. So the intangible cost is, well, have you priced the time you're putting into this?
Right.
And the answer is generally never,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Right. Nobody ever prices their own time.
no,
And if they do, it's like everything else, undervalued.
that's right. But what, some of those questions, and thanks for the proviso of, please folks, adapt these questions and use them as examples. It's at johnray.co and it's /books is where you can find it. Again, you can download it for free. But adapt it to your own business. Those are just examples, but a couple of questions that are really, I actually put them on a prospect questionnaire that I have when I work with, is why now? Why is this so important to do right now, right here, right now?
Right. And if the answer is because my boss told me, that's probably not the right answer. Or worse, because somebody else did it.
Well, if it's your boss told you, then you're talking to the wrong person.
Right.
You know that. You're not talking to this decision maker. So you've got an issue right there. Just a business development tip there. But you've got to get a sense of urgency. And urgency will determine willingness to pay.
Right. Yeah.
And
if
so,
it needs done in a month, well, they're probably going to pay more than if it's, well, we can take a year.
Right. Or yeah, if they can take a year, they're probably just kicking tires.
Right.
So some of these questions are meant to be help you unravel where clients see value, both tangible and intangible, and therefore what their willingness to pay is, and how you can price more effectively to the value that they see. So this is not about taking advantage of anybody. It's not about being greedy. It's about pricing to the value clients perceive.
Right.
And clients perceive, here's the secret. You want the dirty little secret?
Okay.
I think we've been talking for 40 minutes. And
No,
so
just 30.
30. Okay. So only the people that listen to this are going to hear this secret. The big, hairy, audacious secret that I talk about in my book is that clients see more value in you than you see yourself. And if you understand that point, it will change everything in your business. And why is that? Because they see intangible value that you do not see.
Right.
So the lady that the wife of the business owner that I call her Truth, where Truth's
right. And
stormed in the room. Right. Truth stormed in the room. The intangible value there was she needed to understand their retirement picture. And of course he did too. And he was motivated because she was on his what? Right?
Happy wife, happy life.
You better believe it. And so that's intangible value that I would not have seen if Truth had not stormed into the room.
Right.
And so that's what I mean when you can see and identify that intangible value, and the only way we can do that is through an effective value conversation and good questions and good follow-up questions of being curious. When we uncover that intangible value, then we can price much more effectively. We can win more proposals. We can structure those proposals more to fit that client and what they really need. And we can get better fit clients. And as of course, I said it once, I'm going to say it again, we can price more effectively.
Right. And the clients may very well, as we just alluded to, say, I don't know, and that's okay. I'm fine with them saying, I don't know. I've had clients who have told me, oh, I can't tell you that, as in it's a secret and I can't tell you that. And then it's like, well, I'm not sure I can be effective if, and I mean, I sign non-disclosures. I mean, there's, things like that. But yeah, if they're just, oh no, I'm not going to tell you that. Well, then it's probably not going to work out.
Probably not. Yeah. It's because there's a trust problem there. And it may not be a trust problem that they have with you. Maybe they just got something embedded in their past.
Yeah, they got burned before, and and like I said, I'm fine with signing non-disclosures, and depending on what you're doing, might be something that you just automatically do, because depending on what you're doing, you don't want to be sharing people's information, and so you want your clients to know you're not going to go onto social media and say, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe what John just told me. He's doing this and this and this." Yeah. I mean, it's fine to include a non-disclosure. That's acceptable. So there are definitely red flags in our pricing, and again, you've got another great handout on this. But the one that I hate the most, and we've probably all had this happen, is you say, "Oh, I'll do this and this and this, and it will cost you X." And they go, "Oh, wow, I expected it to cost more." I hate that. I mean, we used to do that right when we applied for jobs. And you said, "My salary is $75,000." And they said, "Oh, we were prepared to pay 125. Glad we're only going to have to pay you 75." And it's
That's
like,
right.
oh, shot myself in the foot. And so you don't ever want them to say, "We would have paid more." That's just kind of one of those things. And if you've ever had that happen, folks, you haven't priced right.
Well, if you hadn't had that happen, you hadn't been in business too long.
Right.
Because that will inevitably happen. But here's the thing. Somebody that does that to you has done you a favor. They've reminded you that you didn't do enough value discovery and have a deep enough value conversation. And so they've done you a favor. You ought to thank them, either outwardly or inwardly thank them, because that's the tuition. I call that tuition. That's the tuition you pay to learn to do better.
Right.
And that's okay. Here's the thing. The clients I work with come to me, and the first thing that happens is, we're going through some of the things they've done. And, I have those boxes on my intake form about here, what do you believe, and what's happened to you, and so forth. And, there's a shame that comes over the conversation. And I'm like, there's no shame here.
Right.
Don't tell me you did something stupid. That's not the word.
Right.
The word is you made a mistake and you didn't know it, and you paid tuition to learn better. And that's what we're going to fix it.
Right.
So, and we've all done it. As I said, I've got all the t-shirts in the drawer. So, you just pick up and move on. But here's the other side of this. When you get down to the end and somebody says, "That's more than what I thought this would cost." So it's, how do you counter the too expensive objection?
Right. Yeah. So when they've said that, what the heck do you say? And your first instinct is going to be to discount.
That's right. And what you need to do is hold your knees, keep them from knocking. And let me tell you one of the most effective things you can do. Now, that silence, just that 2 seconds of silence, that was uncomfortable, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. And somebody wants to fill that silence.
Absolutely. And so if you've got the courage enough to just be silent, and they'll start talking a lot of times. And if they don't, you can say something along the lines of, depends on the client, of course, but you can say something along the lines of, "Well, was there, other than cost or other than the fees that I quoted, did everything in this proposal, did it match up with what you were looking for?"
Right. Do we got apples and apples?
Right. What are we talking about here? Did I miss something? Right. If you got a client that you got, good rapport with, you can make a joke out of it. Humor always works with a lot of people. You can say, "Look, I mean, condoms are expensive, but diapers are even more expensive.
Right.
So like what are we talking about here, right? I mean, like, let's revisit what's at stake here. What's at stake here is the value of your retirement.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about the cost of,
Mm-hmm.
QuickBooks or whatever, right? Whatever the tools are. We're talking about a big thing here.
Right.
So, so there are ways to talk to people about and recover from the fact that you really hadn't had a great value conversation, and you get to that point and they have the too expensive objection. There's a ways to recover from that.
Right. Because you might have missed something. There's all sorts of things. But
Absolutely. And
when,
they might not have told you even when you ask, because just like the example you said, right? So you can't beat yourself up over it because you can't ask everything there is to know. But so sometimes things come out later when they finally get the courage to tell you.
Right. One of my favorites is, and this happened actually when I was still in Denver. I am a public speaker. Now, first, a friend of mine who is a world-renowned public speaker said, you need to call yourself a professional speaker, because that indicates that you're going to charge, right? But I was having the discussion with somebody about giving a presentation for them, and and it was going good. We were figuring out what we were going to do, the dates, all that stuff. And then I said, and my fee is, and I said the fee, and I got crickets, right? I got that silence. And I didn't say anything. I just, because, and they said, you charge? And I said, well, yes, I charge. And they literally told me, we thought you loved this so much that you didn't charge. And I said, well, my mortgage company doesn't like that. And they didn't quite get that. And I said, okay, here's a better example. 2 gas stations across the road from each other. You really like the one and the other's okay. Are you going to go into the one that you really like and say, I want my gas for free because I really like you? No. But I think there is that sometimes, that people just assume either A, you're not going to charge at all and just do it, as you said, out of the goodness of our heart because we want to help people, or that it's there's other factors in it. Well, you love it so much, why are you charging? Well, that's nice, and I really do love it, but I have bills I have to pay.
Well, let me give you a tip on how to avoid getting to that point.
Okay.
In your value conversation, ask the question, why me?
Right.
Why did you get in touch with me? And add, because I'm not the cheapest option here.
So you kind of set that expectation.
You set the option. You set the expectation that not only are you going to charge, but you're not going to be the cheapest option. And what will happen is you will smoke out a lot of people that are looking for free, or they're looking for cheap.
Right. Right.
And you'll smoke a lot of that out.
Right. And there's always going to be people that, well, don't I get the friends and family discount?
Oh,
sure, but I just charge them more to start with.
Please don't get me started on this. How much do we have? 3 hours left here?
And I don't ask for it myself. If somebody says, hey, I'm going to give you a discount because I know you, there are actually times where I tell them no. And part of that is because I want to be treated like every other client. If they've given me a discount, then maybe they're going to put me lower on their priority list. And I'm okay with paying that other rate.
Well, here's the problem. The problem is that you may think that as a client, but most clients don't think that way.
Right.
And certainly the friends and family, the so-called friends and family, they definitely don't think that way.
Right.
Now, I ran into a bookkeeper one time. I'm talking a lot about bookkeepers here, but
get ready to go into tax season. I know.
Yeah, I guess so. But she literally had about 40% of her business that was free or heavily discounted with people, that friends and family that she had used to start the business.
Right. Because she
Right?
was getting going, all that good stuff.
Right. And when she was going back to I told her, you've got to go back to them and start getting paid because these economics do not work.
Right.
And
Your mortgage company needs paid.
Right. And well, and it's not just your mortgage company, it's your psyche.
Yes.
What does that do to your psyche?
Yeah.
You have 40% of your
not
business.
a volunteer.
You're not a volunteer and you're not some lackey. You're a professional.
Yes.
You deserve to get paid for the value you create.
Right.
So as she goes back, what happens? Well, what do you mean, Charles? Yeah, they've suddenly forgotten. They've forgotten their business has grown dramatically because of her work and because they know their numbers and they manage by their numbers and their business has grown significantly and they don't want to pay now. Come on.
Right.
And so you've got to have a conversation about getting rid of them.
Right. It might make Thanksgiving a little awkward, but
it does make it awkward. So I actually address this in my book, is that I've got a whole list of client, what you might call, I hate the term, but I'll use it, avatars, those clients that are often best fit clients and often worst fit clients. And I've got friends and family under worst fit clients because the best ones understand what you're trying to do and they pay you. But the worst ones, and there are a lot of times more of those than there are the best ones, the worst ones just simply, they want something for nothing just simply because they're part of the family or they're part of your civic group or neighborhood or club or whatever. They deserve something different that nobody else gets.
Right.
And you've got to avoid that.
I belong to a lot of business associations, and the ones that I don't belong to are the ones that say we expect that members will give a 10% discount to other members or whatever. No. I mean, and now, maybe it's worth it to join that. So then I just charge 20% more to make up for that, right? But yeah, but speaking of that, I also, learned this from the gentleman who said price what the market will bear. I don't publish pricing. And a big part of that is because you can change your pricing. And I love that you mentioned that you charge everybody the same price, and that's a red flag. Because I have been known to charge a PETA tax, right? A pain in the hiney. Yeah. And for whatever reason, you still want to work with them as opposed to cutting them loose, whatever it is. But you also know that they're the people that might call you at 9:00 at night, or they're the people who just always push a little bit more. So you're just going to charge them more. Like I said, I learned that from that gentleman. This was long enough ago that we still had fax machines, and it was the fax where you got the roll of paper. And we were working with this client, and he would sit at night and then he'd print up a bunch of stuff and then he'd fax it to it. And we came in one time and had, I swear, 20 feet worth of paper from that fax machine. And he was like, no, it is not worth it dealing with this guy. And we actually cut him loose and said, no, this is not. But, by not publishing your pricing, and there are times where, depending on what you do, you need to publish your pricing. Depends on what the service is, all those things. But yeah, I mean, there are going to be some that you charge less and some that you charge more. And that's okay to not charge everybody the same amount. You're not Walmart, folks.
Well, yeah, you said a lot there, and maybe where I can, couple places to pick up the thread. Correct. You are, and here's the thing. I use coffee as an example when I try to explain this. People see different value in different things. And this is true for all of us. So coffee is a great example. I'm a cheapskate when it comes to coffee. I mean, I'm happy to wait till I get to Deb's office and let her buy my coffee as opposed to doing what my daughter would do.
Starbucks.
Which is Starbucks, $7, $8, whatever dollars a throw she pays.
My husband is like that. You paid how much for a cup of coffee?
Yeah. And then the most expensive cup of coffee in the world, last time I looked, was a cup of espresso at some fancy coffee place in London for $335. Coffee's like fine wine. Who knew it?
This is
Now,
true.
I'm not criticizing that.
They clearly get paid. Now, they might only sell one a day, but
They're doing quite well. The point of the story is that people have different values and value things differently. This is why you need to offer options in your proposals. A good, better, best model,
right.
where, or a basic, medium, premium, whatever you want to, however you want to term it, where your best fit clients, they want as much a deb as they can hire. They want everything they can get. And so they're willing to pay for that.
Right.
They're willing to pay for not just all the service, but they're willing to pay for the access. I want to pay you to be able to call you at 9 o'clock on Friday night. Well, see, you ought to get a premium price for that.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and if the communication is email only, then that's a lot lower option.
Right.
Right. And it's priced that way. So people can choose, and you're giving clients the dignity of choice, and they can choose what they want. And when it comes down to that conversation about, just like you said earlier, use this example earlier about the 5,000, which half we going to cut, the 2,500, right? You can have a conversation about, okay, you like a few of these things in the better part of the offering, and you want to put those over here in good. Well, we could do that, but then it's going to change the good price. How does that sound to you?
Right.
See, you're opening up a conversation as opposed to having a yes, no on one price. That's why having the same price for all clients does not work.
Right. I remember years ago, my husband is one of 9, and his oldest brother, we swear, still has the first nickel he ever made clenched in his little fist, right? And he's a plumber, and he was helping us do something, and he sent me off to Lowe's to get something. And I came back and, and he said, well, how much did you pay? And I told him. He said, well, that was too much. You should have negotiated. And I went, at Lowe's? And I looked at him and I said, that's the last time I do this. It was like, but yeah, I mean, there are places you negotiate and there are prices you don't. Cars, all of those things, and so it is okay to negotiate and say, okay, I'll do this for more, I'll do this for less. I mean, whatever it is. And because we're providing our brain, that's who we're talking to, we're providing our brain for these. We're not providing a tangible something. And even with a tangible something, depending on what it is, you can still negotiate. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't walk into a restaurant and say, sorry, I'm only going to pay you $10 for lunch today. But it does fascinate me that there are restaurants who, you just pay what you want. I'd overpay. I would always overpay. Because I overtip. I mean, I just always, but yeah, it is something that is just so interesting. And I also believe, and I think you do too, that for people who can't pay anything or just are maybe the tire kickers, you can have some free items. I mean, you've got the items that can be downloaded from your website. You're not giving things away. You're kind of priming the pump, maybe is a way to put it.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, for example, that's why I've got my book. You can go buy my book for $25.
Which I did. I mean, most of the time I tell my guests they have to provide me a copy, but I valued it so much I went and got my own book.
You're so kind. That really means a lot to me. But, there's a great example of whether it's a book, an ebook, whether it's just a conversation, you can be helpful and you can help steer people in the right direction and at least help them identify what the problem is. Right. You don't have to give them the recipe to make the cake, but you can tell them what they left out when their cake fell flat coming out of the oven.
Right.
I mean, you can help them just a little bit, and then you can refer them to someone else that you might think is a better fit for them.
Right.
And then what you have done is you have, in that person's eyes, you've created the aura of being a professional of value, that you have the generous spirit, the generosity mindset, and that although you're not working together, you leave that person better than you found them.
Right.
And that's the idea here.
Right.
Right.
Even if they choose to not work with you.
Right.
And I love this. This is in your book. Serve the market and the market will send love back to you. I think that's just the easiest way to say it. And folks, oh my gosh, we've only got a couple minutes left. And like I said, it's, I had to set the timer because I've got like 20 more questions at least. So we will definitely have John on again because this is the most important thing. Doesn't matter what you do with your business. If your pricing is not right, you won't be ultimately successful. You might get by. You might, but yeah, if you want to be, and I know everybody describes success different. So we're not saying you're going to make $1 million. Maybe it's that you have 4 clients. 4 clients might be exactly what you want. I mean, whatever it is, but pricing is the absolute most critical thing that you're going to do with your business.
Thank you for saying that. This is not just your opinion or mine. It is my opinion. It's not just our opinion. This is an accounting fact, folks, that pricing is the fastest way to change your bottom line. It's faster than any marketing changes you can make, any expense cuts you can make. It's the fastest way to change your bottom line, and particularly if you're in the expertise business.
I love it. Well, we will have a link for the book. Again, I'm doing Vanna in the show notes. But for people who go, okay, I'm ready, I need John, how do they find you and what are the services that you provide?
Well, again, thank you, Deb, for this. This has been a wonderful conversation. So thank you so much for having me on. The couple places, the fastest way to connect with me is email, john@johnray.co. It's just CO, as in company. My website is johnray.co, and there, as Deb mentioned, there are resources there where you can find me as well. Connect with me on LinkedIn. So I'm always posting on these questions and issues and stories on LinkedIn. So John Ray 1, JOHNRAY 1, the number 1. And I've got a LinkedIn newsletter that people seem to like. And then my podcast is The Price and Value Journey. I only have great guests like Deb. and The Price and Value Journey is available where all podcasts can be heard. So just, look it up there. That's a good place to connect with me as well.
Perfect. I love it. And of course, there's links on the website, all those various things. We'll put your LinkedIn your link to LinkedIn on in the show notes also. Like I said, we will have you on again because I think this is something that we just need to keep going over and over. And I'm learning too. I'm learning because it's like right. But right, it's not that I did something wrong or that I screwed up. It's that okay, I'm learning. And that really is it. And so that's why I love talking with you. And so that's, this is why we have to have you on again. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Well, maybe I can jump off of your point, is that it's a journey. That's why I call my podcast, my newsletter, The Price and Value Journey. It's a journey. So that you're always trying to learn and get better. I'm still learning and getting better. And so don't have any shame about where you've been or where you are. The only shame is staying where you are if you're not happy with it, right? And just remember that clients see more value in you than you see yourself. And if you understand that, it will change everything. Understand and act on it. It will change everything in your business, how you talk about your business, your business development, and how you price.
Oh my gosh, such wisdom from my friend John Ray. I'm Deb Creer, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.